Good evening, and welcome. Welcome to another conversation. I couldn't hear nobody pray. Sounds from the Black church from days gone by. I am your moderator, Tanisha Carroll, and I am excited to be a part of this conversation and to have hosted over these several weeks. And so now um, I just want to thank everyone who has been a part of the conversation up until now. And I hope that you will share this out as many places as you are able to and invite someone to be a part of the conversation, because the wonderful thing is with that we have the opportunity to touch and to connect with people all over the world through um, technology. And so we just appreciate you for being a part of the conversation. Excuse me. Right now, I want to introduce our visionary, um, Vivian Carroll, who is the author of I Couldn't Hear Nobody Pray, Sounds of the Black Church from Days Gone By. And we just want to allow you the opportunity to share your insight and your thoughts about these conversations and how has it been going for you these past several months.
Thank you so much. Greetings to everyone. I am again ecstatic and humbled at the same time. Uh, I truly thank God for the vision. I really, really do. I was a part of a book challenge. And what do I know? What did I know? I know God and I know music. And as I started to write and then reflect, music is such a huge part of the Black church. It was, there's just not enough time to talk about everything. And I do thank you, gentlemen, for joining. The other conversations have been absolutely amazing, amazing as musicians, artists, uh, from all over are lending their voice. And it seems like everybody has something that they can share that we can learn from. And it's just important. It's just so important that we communicate, that we don't lose what we have, because what we have is truly rich. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We appreciate you, and we're so glad for this opportunity. And so we're going to jump in by allowing our guests to introduce themselves. Um, and we're going to start. We're going to start with Mr. Mike Ross. I want you to just give us a little bit of history about who you are and your journey in this in the music of the church in this field.
Okay. So can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So basically I've been doing music for quite a while. I'm kind of young, so I started in my 20s and my 40s now. But uh recently just released two songs. So one's called Have Your Way and the other is called I'm in Need of Prayer. And I don't know if you, I think Vivian heard it. I don't know if she shared it or not, but so my thing is I'm basically looking at this music. To me is I'm looking at it as I'm going back to worship. And we have to remember that, we serve an awesome God. And I know I go to church on Saturdays, so it's a little different, but same thing. But it's just that it's music is, especially in the church, has changed so much for me that I've seen. It's changed. And in some good ways and some not so good ways. But we just have to, for me, it's going back to that point where we're remembering we're going to church to praise, to worship God, and just remembering that that's the most important part of this. It's I'm not just going to church to listen to music either. It's just I'm going because that the presence of God is there. So that's why we do this, and especially as musicians, we get a lot of we have to be. It's kind of like we have to be extra, and not extra, but I can't find the right word to say for this. We have to be like on point because we're leading people in the presence of God, and that's just amazing to me. And I've always wanted to do it. Back to that point where that's just amazing to me, and I've always wanted to do it. So I'm glad I got the opportunity to actually just be involved in the church setting, and God gave me the songs to write and the guitar, and just started learning chords and just started progressing. And I'm not all the way there yet, and I don't claim to be. I'm just trying to be a servant, and just that's basically what we have to have, a servant heart. And I think that's the main thing, because I don't. It's not being in music ministry. It's not just like, hey, look at me, see me, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. No, what is God doing? I think that's the most important part for me.
Thank you so much. So good. Thank you. Thank you for introducing us to you and reminding us about the foundation of what we do. And so now I'm gonna invite um Mr. Will Suddeth to just tell us a little bit about himself and about his journey when in the music arena.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
So my name is Will Suddeth. Y'all can hear me pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay. So originally from Cleveland, Ohio. I've lived in 5 different cities, well, including my college cities. I've lived in 5 different cities. I'm in my 5th city now, actually. And yeah, just started off in music. I think I can't remember not being involved in music. So
Mhm.
it's a picture of me with as a 1 year old with headphones on, sitting on an organ. So I mean, that's that tells it how long it's been. But I really got serious about it in high school with our high school gospel choir. That's when I got. I mean, I was dibbled and dabbled in it for years, and I grew up in a musical church, family somewhat musical. But I got serious about it at our Cleveland Heights gospel choir, and that just kind of catapulted everything that I do now. Music has definitely changed. I grew up a choir head, and that's kind of what was in me and what I learned and what I was around a lot. And but I also feel like I was fortunate enough to live in that generation where we saw the change to the praise and worship. So I got the best of both worlds. I probably got you know 15 years of choir and 20 more years of praise and worship. I don't know how many years it is, but somewhere in that number. And I'm just kind of able to be able to do both, and that's a blessing. But it's changed it's definitely changed from those in those eras, the 80s and the 90s, and then we got to the 2000s, the 2010s, and I guess the 2020s now. So it's a whole different vibe. And I do think the choir era is making a return. I do think it's slowly coming back, which I love. So, but yeah, that's kind of the long and the short of it. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes,
Yeah,
indeed.
I agree with you that the choir is making a comeback. So thank God for people, who value that part
Yes.
of the music scene, the church scene, um, and even people, on a higher scale who never let it die, like your Donald Lawrences, your
Yeah.
Rick
Yeah.
Dillards,
Absolutely.
who they just were unwavering, not willing to shift out of what their purpose was. So,
Right. Right.
so a whole different generation is getting an opportunity to connect with
Absolutely.
people such as them. So that's amazing. So last but not least, Mr. Wendell Long, we want to invite you to just share a little bit about yourself and your journey as it relates to music in the church.
Good evening, everybody. I'm so glad to be here. Uh, I want to start by saying I am 62 years old, and I have been playing for church since I was since the age of 8. Um, but I actually started piano at 4. So you do the math. That's how long I've been, quote unquote, in the game. I've seen music in a lot of different fashions. I started out because I was not born in Mississippi. I was born in West Virginia. And so music was just a little different up there. When I came to Mississippi at the age of about 10 or 11, music was beginning to shift. It was in the 70s. And at that time, like one of the other brothers said, that's when I began to take it serious. By the time I was in the 10th grade, I was singing in the high school chorus. I could read music. My favorite genre is actually classical. Uh, and so I kind of took the two and mixed it together. And so that's the style that I have when I'm sitting at the organ. And so God has blessed me in the area. I did I did compose a song, and was blessed to introduce it to GMWA about 4 years ago. And the name of the song was just called "Lift Those Hands and Bless Him." And when the president of the of GMWA tell you he liked your song, well, apparently you must have did pretty good. So I praise God for that. But to answer the question, yes, music has changed over the years, and as our first brother said, some good, some not so good. The only thing that I worry about is the sanctity. I love him. Excuse me. I love him, and I believe that, as the previous brother said, that the age of the choir is coming back. It's coming back slowly because I'm a choir person too, but I want to be able to bridge the gap between the choir and the praise and the worship, and we fuse all of that together,
Mm-hmm.
and God
Mm-hmm.
can be glorified all the way around. And I think that that's where the disconnect has come. So uh, I hope to retire here within the next few years, but before I do, I hope and pray that that gap has been fused and God will be glorified, and that until the Lord comes back to get us, uh, the future of music, gospel music, and church music will be bright. So
Amen.
that's about it for
Amen.
me.
Amen.
So good. So good. The sanctity of the music. Yes, yes, yes. Not, when it comes to with that thought in mind, I want to ask everyone, what is the basis? What is the foundation that we build these choirs and praise teams and music departments, these elaborate departments? What is the basis? What do we build them on? What is the foundation? Will?
Now, when you say that, what do you mean by that?
What is the foundation of, like, what are we building these departments on? I have an
Okay.
idea, but what makes up the department? How do we build it? How did we get even to where we are?
Okay. Okay. Well, so I'll kind of start with what you finished with. I think how we got to where we are, um, it has to do with a lot of things. And I know you said you don't want, we're not trying to, like, make no waves or nothing like that. But I mean, I do think that there's an element here where you know So back in the day, you had the choirs. The choirs were the hot thing, and sometimes that's what it is. It's like it's what trends in the public eye that everybody wants to do. So the choirs are going on tour. The choirs are, especially in the '90s, was was hip and fun and all that stuff. So churches and everybody they want to adopt that. And then as things changed, and a lot of it had to do with money. That's what it had to do with. You know, people, praise and worship has less people. It has, so less overhead, all that kind of stuff. So when they go on tour, they don't have to pay all these people and all this kind of stuff. And the songs are easier. The songs are very vanilla. And I'm not trying, I'm not saying that in a bad way. Some of them are great songs, you know, but I think that there's a am I answering your question, by the way? Because I think I might be going on a tangent. Okay, all right. But the music has become so just four chord simple, and in my opinion, it's taken a lot of the musicality and the creativity away from music, and so I think now the foundation is just built on if you can play a little bit. And I think it's gotten to a point to where on the other extreme where we want singers that are like incredible, which I don't have a problem with. Of course I'm a director and I play and all that. I like great singers, but I think what happens a lot in church is that we come to church and we're looking for a concert, and we're looking for we're looking for great singers. And it's just like anything else. We're looking to be entertained with fantastic singers. And when you had the choir, I mean, we all know we had folks that couldn't sing, but they was in the choir, just had to sit, they had to stand in the back a little bit. And you actually had to teach them how to sing. You actually had to teach them how to project. You had to teach them diction. You had to teach them those things. And then they learned. And it was almost, to me, it feels like a choir, in the choir situation, it was more like kind of building a family. You know what I'm saying? It was a little more messy, but that's how families are. You got somebody over here, you got all this stuff, but you come together with one goal in mind. And I think it was more what's the word, more visible to the lay members when you saw, you know 40 people come together as one. It was like, what, we can do that too. But when you see the praise and worship teams, and no knock on it, it's just the trend. But it's more so about individual. You know what I'm saying? It's more individualized. And and you realize how things changed in service. You remember back in the day when we used to sing songs, and I'm not trying to make this a back in the day versus today thing, but we would sing songs, and when the congregation would sometimes sound better than the choir. Everybody was singing. Everybody knew the music. Everybody knew the songs. Now if you say, okay, you sing along with me, it's like one person built now alto. You know what I'm saying? It's because they don't know it. We have to have words on the screen, all those kind of things. So it's a lot. It's a whole lot of. I got a whole lot to say about this, but I think that the foundation now is built too much on individualism instead of a collective thing. And I think we're starting to recognize that and trying to get that back now. I think we are starting to try to really get that back. So that's the short version.
Yeah. I love that, that the individual versus the collective, because
Mm,
when we think about the body, we think about the body of Christ, it should be about the coming together, right?
yeah, yeah.
That's an awesome point to bring out, and the sanctity. So I want Mr. Wendell to say more about the sanctity of the music and what just
Mm,
the foundation when it comes to that. Where did we miss it along the way? Just when you think about that phrase, the sanctity of the music, where's the foundation? How did we get here? What is it that we are building on?
Um, wow, I didn't know that was gonna the sanctity. When I was growing, brother, let me tell you something. Yeah, I'm like you. I've got a lot to say, but I have to guard my words because in
Yes.
some ways I'm very, very disappointed
Mm.
in some things. But I'm not going to throw any jabs because that's not me. But when I use that term sanctity and I use the word foundation, uh, when I listen to a song sometimes and I listen to someone else sing the song, I'm looking for the originality of the song that has
Mhm.
already been recorded. Now, I'm going to use, for instance, "Safe in His Arms." Since I'm a choir guy, I'm going to use, for instance, "Safe in His Arms." I've heard so many different renditions of "Safe in His Arms" until I believe that if it were possible, Milton Brunson would get up out of the grave and just tell everybody to stop because that's not what they had in mind when Thompson put that song out. They were relating a story. They took the 23rd Psalm and related it unto that time. When I say the sanctity, the foundation, I hate to say it, but here we go. Y'all rebuke me later, but I know what I'm trying to say. We have too many people now that's trying to replace the foundation and just lay a brand new one and saying that what was then is then, and God is calling for new things and so forth and so on. But everybody, I heard the late Bishop Carlton Pearson say something one time. He said, everybody's not going to relate to Fred Hammond. Everybody's not going to relate to Donnie McClurkin when he's singing certain songs. But if you can just remind the saints of their hope, remind them of where they came from, that's the foundation. That's the sanctity. Singing "What a Friend We Have in Jesus," there's nothing wrong with that. Singing "Amazing Grace," there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with singing "Holy, Holy, Holy," the first hymn in the hymn book. Uh, uh, every Sunday, I'm at the organ, uh, one of the churches that I play for at the 9 o'clock service. His favorite, Pastor Stevenson's author song is "I Need Thee." But the sad part about that is nobody sings the part where it says, "I need thee every hour, most precious God. No tender voice like thine
Mm.
can peace afford." Everybody knows the chorus part of "I need thee," but what makes the chorus are the verses. That's what I mean by the sanctity. And so we've got to come out of these catchphrases of songs, go back and begin to reiterate the foundation. There's nothing wrong with singing hymns. There's nothing wrong with singing psalms and old Richard Smallwood songs and things like that. Now, if you want to put another spin on it, cool. That's cool and fine. However, and on the other hand, don't take away the originality of the song. Stay as close to the best as you can. And I believe that everybody can be blessed by it. Most of all, our Lord will be blessed, but someone else in the congregation, as brother said earlier, will be healed and delivered and set free because that's just how important the music ministry is. And I believe that we need to build on what's already been there, what's already there, and don't try to uproot a foundation. It's still a good foundation. We just need to find uh, something better to use as tools to build on what has been said.
So good, so good.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for giving us even more clarity as it relates to that. Because I think it's a good. This is what this conversation is about some of the fact that we do not hear as many hymns, or to your point, the verses of the hymns. A lot of people don't know what the verses are, or even, there's discrepancy about what the verse says and that kind of thing. So thank you for bringing that to the forefront. I think it's absolutely necessary. So Mike, tell me what do you what is your input as it relates to, you know, the foundation, the sanctity of the music in the church, and just where it has brought us now?
Um, First, for me, I think it would be, to me, it's generational. Because if you go back, I grew up in church, so and our, my grandmother always, we always went to church with her and everything, and we choir, same thing, basically the same thing you guys as well. Um, just remembering that was for me, that was my foundation, like my grandmother. And I didn't know my grandfather, but like my grandmother was definitely every Sunday she was there, and we would sing songs like God is a good God, and um what's the another one, uh and yeah um um I'm a soldier in the army of the Lord. And like I was listening to, and actually one of you guys talked about Fred Hammond, and I can relate because I'm a huge Fred Hammond fan. But like he had this album, I think about 20 years ago he put out an album. uh it uh I forget the name of the album, but it's the songs that he has that song, He Lives on it. And he has all these excerpts of old songs, and that really spoke to me because it reminded me of the foundation, like what Wendell was talking about. Like we can't forget the foundation because that's where it comes from. I mean, we have grandparents and great grandparents who came up in this, and like to me, it's like if we forget the foundation, like uh, Tanisha was saying, we then we miss it. And I really don't want to be the one to miss it. I'd rather just start teaching people that are younger than me. I'm 47, and just start, showing people younger than me that, hey, look, you got to remember that this is where we came from. And the music industry is, I'm not even going to go there with the music industry. it's, but I just don't want to get to a place where it's like, again, as I was saying earlier, look at me, everything is look at me, and this is what I'm doing. But
Mm-hmm.
it goes back to the same thing. What the root is, what is God doing? And how is your music blessing others? Because at the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's about someone else being touched by the music that you put out or the music that you're sharing with someone. And you never know, because people are going through a lot of stuff now, a lot of things that happen. We're living in some crazy times. So if anybody would, just take the time to remember the foundation. I think that's the main thing for me. Like foundation is key. That's where we are. Because we have grandparents, we had great grandparents, we had people in our families who grew up in this stuff and they know it. And that's where I that's where I got it from. And that's where we all got it from. And that's the my point is you can't forget the foundation, because if you do, then that's when you get in trouble.
That's good. That's good. I want to thank you all for saying these things, because it appears to me that, so like Will and Mike and myself, we are the generation, that is the bridge between the young people who are coming up now, and say like Wendell's generation and Vivian's generation. We're that bridge. We're that in between, where we were able to, I was talking with Will about this, where we experienced the hymns, but we also grew up on Kurt Franklin and Fred
Mm-hmm.
Hammond, you know, and both of those things were important to us. We loved both. We enjoyed both. So we were able to make the connection as we grew up. And I think it is so, Mike, you said something that was so important, is to grab the next generation, that you pour into them, that you teach them, and that you share with them what we know and how we grew up. Because there is just a necessity to still remember, still utilize, because one thing about those hymns is they were the word of God, they were doctrine, they were not some random words put together that, sound good. You know what I'm saying? And so I appreciate each of you. You guys are doing, I love what you're saying. I just want to say that Pastor Greg George is on here preaching. He on here preaching online. And he is now Will and I went to high school together, and Pastor Greg we all sang in the choir together. We sang, and did Greg sing in Josie? Because we might have sang in a couple of choirs together. I don't
I
remember.
don't know if he was with the. No, I think he was. Yeah, I don't think he was
Okay.
with us in the Josie.
Okay.
Yeah.
But he is on here preaching, y'all. And so I'm gonna just say a couple of his comments. Again, he's in our age bracket. One, he said that talent has replaced character and submission to God.
Mhm.
Look, everybody nodding their head. Everybody nodding their head. And then he said we have to reach them where they are with the modern music and remind them of music, the strength of the music, and the strength and the faith of the generation that came before us, which I think
Absolutely.
are such those are good points. He got a whole bunch of other stuff on here saying, like I said, he on here preaching this evening. But I'm so glad. Thank you, Greg, for being here. Thank you for being here and supporting. And of course, our mascot and favorite is on here, Thomas McIntyre. Um, I hope
Yes, sir.
he is our biggest supporter and champion, and we appreciate him. But we also have Mr. Derek Bridges, who is on here, who is also on here preaching and encouraging. And so we're thankful to those of you who are here. To everyone else, I didn't call everybody's name, but I just called a few. So thank you guys for being here. And as we in just a pause for a moment to just say that our reason that we are here has to do with the book I Couldn't Hear Nobody Pray, Sounds of the Black Church from Years Gone By. And that book was written by Vivian Carroll. And so I'm gonna put the link into the comments so that you guys can grab the book. So that you can grab the book. It is in no way exhaustive when it comes to this idea of the sounds and the music of the Black church. It is a conversation starter, however. It is the beginning of a conversation, it's the beginning of telling a story and telling a history that we cannot forget. When we consider the foundation, we have to consider that there are people on the foundation, there are singers and ministers and pastors at the foundation, but most importantly, and I believe that Mike really gave this the right kind of attention, is that what we do is about God. What we
That's
do is,
right.
and if he's not being glorified, if there is too much, as Greg said, too much that talent is replacing submission to God and character, that's a problem. That has to be addressed on an individual, basis. Okay. And so I want us to, as we have this conversation publicly, that we're saying that although we're talking about music, we know that the music we're talking about is music that's rooted in kingdom. It's music that's rooted in the word of God and in each person's experience in the church and with God. And we want to make sure that we make that known. And anybody who has been with Vivian for more than 2 minutes knows that that is her bread and butter. She is about y'all watching her. She having a hard time keeping herself together on these videos because she gonna go there. She's gonna go there. And so because she loves God and she is Jesus' best friend. Okay. So I so I'm do you want to say anything in the interim before we ask another question?
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate everything that's been said, and a lot has been said. Will talked about money. That's something that we're going to have to address in these conversations. We're going to have to talk about money. Michael talked about the music industry. So why are we talking about industry when we're talking about the house of God? The music industry. Okay, but it's important. Foundation. Uh, Wendell, you mentioned the choir. You mentioned praise and worship and blending those two together. Uh, you talked about hymns and how your foundation is classical music, and I hope you watched The Evening with Twinkie Clark. If you have not, please check that out because girl, oh my God, it was awesome. Now I'm older than all of you. I've got 10 years on Wendell. I'll be 71 on my birthday, so I've been doing this a long time, since middle school. I remember singing. I remember singing at 18 months old. That's one of my earliest memories. Uh, but you talked about, and Tanisha talked a lot about bridging. Where are, where is devotion? That thing that the deacons used to do. I know I am a child of God, although I move so slow. All of that came out of the experience, and it is part of our foundation. Uh, and the other only other thing that I'm going to say right now is I think we have Wendell because of Derek Bridges, and Derek is going to be a panelist on the May 5th. I think it's the May 5th conversation. So thank you all.
Thank you so much. And actually, I did write down even before Will shared about when it comes to the music, because what I wrote down is it just a gig? So let's talk about it. Is it a gig? Is it just a gig? Or is it more? Now, you guys don't know me, so let me just share. Will knows, but I grew up in the church and I've been directing choir since I was 15. So I know I've directed part with the high school choir. I've directed college choirs. I've been a praise and worship leader for the last 20 years and choirs and educated. I have a master's degree in worship. So I understand. I do not play. I sing. I have a music degree. I have a vocal performance degree. And so I understand music even though I don't play. Like I could play at it. But so I understand the need when it comes to when we talk about money. Like I understand the need to be in different, maybe a morning service and an afternoon service to take care of your family. I understand that. My husband is a bass player and he plays in church. Okay. So I want it to be understood. Like I get it. These questions are necessary because the people need to understand. Um, so I know several answers to this question, but let's start. Let's start with Mike. Let's talk about, is it just a gig? Is there more to it? And we understand that money is a part of it. So just talk a little bit about that for us.
So I've never really looked at it as a gig only because it's like it's what I'm passionate about. I see it as, I'm doing this because it's a gift that the Father has given us, and that's one of the things you got to remember, that that gift didn't come from me or us, it came from God. So He was the one that gifted you and said, "Hey, this is what your gift is, and if you are blessed enough to know what your gift is, and you're walking in that gift, use it." And use it to glorify Him only, because that's what this is about. It's at the end of the day, it's about glorifying God. I mean, it's a gig. I've never even thought about it from that perspective, is being a gig, because yes, I do put music out, and it's and if there is money obviously involved, and there's a money exchange involved in that, but that's for the purpose of, it's something that you're creating something, and you're like, just like a Vivian created a book, the same thing. It's you're creating something, and you're using the gift that God gave you, and in turn it blesses other people, and then it also comes back and God turns around and blesses you for blessing other people. So it's secular. Yeah, I think that's probably the best word. But it's um so for me, I think it's just being a gig. No, I can't see it as a gig. My thing is, it's having that heart of worship, and that's the whole point of it, because we've gotten to that. A lot of musicians have gotten to that place where it's, especially with social media, and we're seeing how, this, I got this out, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But I would rather see this as a gift from the Father that He's given us, and then just go from there and let Him orchestrate it.
Awesome. Yes. I appreciate that. Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I could tell that that is like that toiled with you. You're like, no way, no gigs. So I I appreciate your heart, Mike. I appreciate your heart. Yes. Yes. So Wendell, tell me, sometimes is it a gig?
Never. It's never a gig. Um, and you said something at the onset about this conversation. You used the word journey. On my journey, I can remember, and forgive me, I might get emotional right here because, see, I when I do this, I'm the least guy that, if you know me, I'm the guy that nobody figured would still be here to do what I do. I got laughed at, made fun of, this, that, and the other. But one thing about me is that I watch God take me from transition to transition, where He brought me from one level to the next one, to the next one, to the next one. So it was never about a gig for me. But I think where the problem comes in is that a gig is a mentality, and you treat it because of that's where your mental state is. Um, One of the things that's going on now is where I am, there's a shortage of musicians. And so one of the things that's going on is that they'll go to this church and play, and they'll play for 30, 45 minutes, get the check, go to the next one and play, and get this, and go to the next one. And when you talk to them, they say, I got this gig here, I got this gig there, and that bothers me because I, and I even teach my son, my oldest son is a musician. And I've taught him it's not a gig, it's a gift. Take it serious and make the best out of it. Do your best, because here's what I was about to say. I can remember when I went to God one night, and I just wanted to do better. All I was wanting to do was to do better. And I told him, and I've never forgotten this. This has been a long time ago. And I said, Lord, if you just give it to me, I promise you, I'll never ever do anything that will make your name shame. I would never bring shame to your name within the gift. The one thing that the Lord put on my heart is that, Wendell, I'll give it, but there's some things you got to work for. It's not going to just fall down out the sky. You got to hone your gift. You got to practice this, that, and the third. So when we do for God, even when you're just in your practice time, He has to be the center of your practice time. When you're in, I'm talking about your personal practice time. When you're in your rehearsals, He has to be the center of it. That'll take the gig mentality away. Cause here's the other thing that I've learned over the years. If you as a musician have a gig mentality, whoever it is that you're playing for, they're gonna have the same mentality that you have. And the problem is going to be where it's going to fall back, it's going to bite you, is when they have show up or they have seen, remember where they got it from. You're the leader. They got it from you. So it's how is your approach to what you're doing. So it's never a gig. It's a gift. And I'm so honored to be able to serve God. Let me stop. Let me stop. I'm just honored. It's never a gig. And it never will be a gig.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much for sharing that. Um, it's not a gig, it's a gift. Okay. All right. And I'm gonna share what Derek said after we let Will talk. So Will, tell me, is it a gig?
I'm gonna come from a couple of different angles. Now, at the end of the day, well, from my own experience, so I think it's a matter. I think it's a matter of the heart as well. You know what I'm saying? Um, there have been times when I've said with my mouth, "This is just a gig. This is just a gig." If you'd asked me this question 20 years ago, I probably have a whole different answer. But um, because there's situations. A lot of things are situational too. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you may have a main church that you join, that you play for. You may have a 5 o'clock situation that's just hey, I'm doing this for the quick little change. You know what I'm saying? But it's a matter of the heart. When I've had those, I still have situations like that. When I'm in those situations, is when I'm there, I realize that yes, just like my brother Wendell said, this is a gift, and no matter if it's a church with 3 people, if it's a church with 3,000 people, I try to give it the same way. I'm not going to play. I'm not going to play any less at this church than I am at this church. I'm not going to do any less at this church. But again, it's all situational. How they move, how their order of service, all that kind of stuff. But no, it's not a gig, but I think also too, people kind of exacerbate that term as well because you know as much as we don't want to, as much as people don't want to say, people are afraid because a gig is what, a job. That's what it is at the end of the day. It's a job. I think again that gig mentality is a matter of the heart, but it's a job as well as a gift. And in some situations, you give your gift freely. In some situations, it's like, hey, you're taking me away from things that I could be doing to help my family. And so now, we're treading on something, something sensitive here because you know a lot of uh, leaders, they want you to be there in spite of your job. Can you come play for this funeral? Can you take time off your job, come play for this funeral? Can you take time off your job to play for this revival? And those type of things. If you got a wife and kids, or if you're a woman, you got husband and kids or whatever at home, and you got to take care of them, and you have to it has to make sense. You know what I'm saying? And it's hard because in my heart, I would love to have something else making me money so I can just be a volunteer. That's always been my goal, to be in a position. That don't necessarily mean I'm going to do it, but to be in a position to be a volunteer if I want, if I want to, like, you don't have to pay me, you know what I'm saying, to do this. And because that's what's in my heart, is for the love of what God gave me. And I love doing it as well. And there's been ebbs and flows and all of that, but at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, it's a gift. And the gig thing, it's all situational. It depends on who says it. It depends on the matter of their heart, what's in their heart. You know what I'm saying? Because I know some people that say, yeah, I got this gig. I know that they don't have a gig mentality, if that makes sense. I know gig isn't in their heart. They're just saying, I have a job. You know what I'm saying? I have a job. So I think we have to look at all those different things, because it is important, especially when it's time. It's you're spending your time. You know, when I charge somebody, I'm not charging them just because just to charge them. Like some people do. Some people do that. I'm just I'm gonna charge you $500 just because I'm dope, or I'm cold, or I'm sweet on keys. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, when I charge somebody, I charge them because for the years of practice, that a personal, like he was talking about personal practice, the years of being let down by leaders, and also, I mean, there's some good things involved in that too. It's a whole lot of stuff. It's good and bad involved in that, but all those things have been mixed into a ball that made you who you are today. And you're worth something, and other than a chicken dinner. And I'll take that too. So, you know, but no, I'm messing around. But yeah, but yeah, it's a matter of your heart. It's a matter of what's in your heart. And I think we shouldn't have that mindset, and that heart of, I'm gonna just try to play for 10 churches, because eventually that's gonna fizzle out and you're gonna get tired. I'm 47 as well, and I got tired of doing
Mhm.
that. Sunday night I want to watch a football game. I don't want to go home and have to go to sleep. So you get tired. Just get it, and it'll wear you down when you start doing that. When you start having that mentality, you'll see it'll wear you down after a while. It's like maybe gigs aren't the thing. When it comes to that. So you know.
Okay, so I'm gonna press this a little bit further because one of the things, um, well, two things. One, let me just say what Derek has said. Let me scoot over here and see what he said, because Derek said sometimes you have to think of it as a gig so that you don't get your heart broken by church folk.
That's good.
And what I want to press is the term that is often stated, which is the hireling. Um, church people love to use that term, pastors and leaders in the church love to say, just like musicians say gig, or have said gig in certain situations, pastors and leaders will say, well, they're acting like a hireling. They're a hireling. So I want to know now, let me just say, preface this with just the fact that people, we don't want to minimize the hurt that people have experienced on both sides of the aisle. Churches have been hurt by musicians,
Absolutely.
and musicians have been hurt by people in the church. Okay. And so we don't want to act like neither of those things are true, because they're both true.
Mhm.
They're both true. Um, and so I want to get your perspective on this idea of hireling. And I'm gonna use the word of God, because the Bible uses the word hireling. And he uses it, and Jesus is talking about this in chapter 10 of John, St. John. And Jesus said, assuredly I say to you, I am the door of the sheep. No, wrong place. Verse 11, chapter 10. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd gives his life for the sheep, but a hireling who is not the shepherd one who does not own the sheep sees the wolf coming and leaves the sheep and flees. And the wolf catches the sheep and scatters them. The hireling flees because he is a hireling and does not care about the sheep. Okay?
Mm.
Right. So
Right.
that's the word. Okay? St. John
Yeah.
chapter 10, start verse 11 through 13. Yes. Okay, that's the word. And I want to, we've talked about this idea of gig, and that's usually a musician word, a singer word, whatever, a person who is coming in to perform a service, even someone who might be a member, but they are still performing a service and getting paid for it. That's their word. This hireling word is a church word. It's a word that people in the church use towards those who are um, performing a service. And so I want to know from you all, what is it? And you can just, if you have a strong opinion about this, you can jump in and say what you think in regards to this, because have you ever experienced this word being called the hireling, or what is your response to it? How do you think it impacts as receiving that word being said to you? Wendell?
Oh boy. Um, I've heard that now. Now let me qualify also by saying I've been preaching for 31 years as well, um, licensed and ordained. But yet the musical side a lot of time overshadows that, and I don't mind. I've gotten used to that. And so when you hear that, when Jesus said, "I'm the good shepherd," but when the hired man comes, it goes back to what the other brother just said. It's all a matter of the heart. Yes, you're hired, but where's your heart?
Hmm.
Um, and I hope now y'all call him Derek. I call him Apostle Bridges. That's a joke between he and I. But you do have guys and girls within the music ministry that are hired, but their heart is that with the sheep. There are some people that are hired and they treat it as such. So I think I'm going back to what I said. It's your mentality and what uh, my other brother just said. Uh, it's your approach. Your approach is the matter of the heart. Do you have the heart of a hireling, or do you have a heart of a servant?
Hmm.
Because it's kind of a same word, but different mentality or different approach. Because when Jesus uses the word hireling, he tells him the mentality of the hireling, that when he sees the wolf coming, he takes off and runs and leaves the sheep. Well, we as hired musicians are okay, I'll say it. Either you're spirit filled or you're not. You're there to do a job, yes, but from a godly perspective, you're there to support, you're there to uplift. Now, I'm not going to throw a jab, but I'm going to say this right here. Sometimes some leaders don't allow us to express our heart, to show
Amen.
them that we're more than just ugly. Sometimes that happens, and that causes discouragement, that causes disgust, that causes disappointment, and then it causes disillusionment. So at the end of the day, the way I look at it, when I stand before God, I've got to give an account, but I just want to make sure my heart is right. So they can call me a hireling all day long, but I don't operate like such. I operate like that of a servant, because at the end of the day, I, have I glorified God? Did He get the glory out of my service? And then number two, were His people blessed? But that's just how I see it. It's a sensitive subject, but it's a needed subject that needs to be taught because lots of times uh, the 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 musician who has the heart of the servant is treated like a hireling, and then they're beat down, cut down, talked to any kind of way, and this, that, and the third. They're doing the best that they can, and then they forget the people that's doing all this beating and talking and everything. They forget that this person has feelings just like they do, and so everybody's important. So I think that the role of the hireling there, yes, you're hired, but where's your heart? That's the best way that I can put it.
So good, so good. Thank you. Thank you for saying that just that way. I I appreciate everything that you're saying. And I think it's so important that we do this here in these conversations is we have to have both sides of the conversation. We have to have both sides. And I love when we have, a pastor, ministers to come because they are able to see two sides of a coin. They've experienced both and so I appreciate it. Okay, gentlemen, anybody else want to jump in on that before we close out?
Yeah,
I can't say.
I could. Oh, go ahead.
Good.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
man.
but
Go ahead. You're good.
I was going to say I can't say I've ever experienced that, so. That's definitely not my Yeah, I'll let Will get it. Say he was going to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think in most situations, if you play and you've been playing a long time, or whatnot, singing or whatnot, um, and you have a charge, you know, you've probably been called a hireling in most situations. Not everybody, but you've been in that situation. And I think if from my personal experience, I'm a real relational person. I'm an extrovert. I like meeting people. I like being around people. So I already like, when I'm in a situation, even like I said before, even when there were times when I'm like, this is gonna be my side gig. You know what I'm saying? But I've done that.
Mm,
I'm guilty of it. I've done it. But even in those times, I can't not be relational and work harder for the sheep. I just can't do that. And if I'm in a situation where I feel like I can't or I don't want to, that's not the situation for me at all. It's one of those things like I can't do this here. But it's um I obviously that's the Bible. I totally agree with that. It's like, if you're a hireling, you'll run when the wolf comes, you know, um, that's huge. And I think that when you're doing ministry, I don't care what service it is that you're doing, it's important to, know the people that you're with, be around them, and when you start understanding who you're around and what you're dealing with, and it all goes back again to the matters of the heart and your relationship with God. You know, being able to read those rooms and see who you're dealing with and why am I here? I look at them. I look at them more so, as especially as I've gotten a little older. I look at all of it as assignments.
mm,
Even if it's just a small church around the corner, I
mm,
play for at 6 o'clock. You know what I'm saying? I look at it. There's a reason why I'm here. Whether it's 6 months, whether it's 2 years, whether it's 3 years, 5 years. I'm the reason why I'm here, and that makes all the difference in the world. And I think that we again how we throw that term gig loosely, it's been thrown out loosely, and like brother Wendell was talking about, I mean it can be hurtful when your heart is, I'm doing the best I can. I'm doing this for God. First of all, I'm doing this for to help the people, and you're called Ireland because you charge $20, so
no.
Yeah, yeah.
it didn't even get the chicken dinner.
didn't even get to chicken dinner. Let me say this: that scripture passage, Tanisha, and I'm so glad you used that. In
Yeah.
context, it's talking about the shepherd.
Hmm.
So is the shepherd then considered a hireling, as we're talking
Mm.
about the various roles in the church. We're not talking about the musician, the pastor. Is he a hireling? But he's paid.
Mm.
Now, let's go back to the Old Testament. And we don't have time to finish this today, Tanisha. We're going to have to take this one up another time. How were the musicians treated in the Old Testament? You know,
Right.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't have to work another job. They were taken care of.
Mm. Preach now.
And so that is why we have these conversations, because we have to say both sides of everything,
Yes.
because off from my experience, as people, as musicians and singers, you have you will be able to you will have to like experience things, and you go to all these different places, and you hear so many different responses to who you are and how you give to the congregation, but also the congregation needs to hear that, hey, here's how it feels. Here's how I experience you when I come in as I'm the musician, I'm now the minister of music, or I'm the lead musician, or what have you. And I'm not treated like I'm a believer too. Like I love God too. I just have a different role in the house. I have a different
Mm.
role in the house,
Mm.
and so we, as Christians, we really have to take responsibility for the fact that we are believers, right?
Yes.
And
Mhm.
so where are we, how is that belief system showing up as musicians, as singers, as directors, as pastors, as lay members? How is my faith showing up in what I do? How's it showing up? And I will just tell you, because it's all worship, and we
Right.
can take
Yep.
that.
Man.
How I treat you, that's worship. How
Mm.
the people in the pews treat the pastor, that's worship.
Mhm.
And
That's right.
so you look at it like it's just a song. It's not
Nope.
just, that song is a vehicle to, as Will said, create relationship with people, which is how God intended us to be. We're to live in a relational place. So as Vivian said, this is a huge conversation, and we never, you know, we always have more to say than the time allots. We allow about 1 hour. We are over our time today, but I want to say that we are so grateful to each one of you, Mike, Will, Wendell. We're so thankful to you. And before we go, and we're thankful to our online audience as well, Derek and Daisy, Darlene. We're so grateful to have you, Thomas. Thank you so much for being here, and everyone else who has stopped by and will stop by. Thank you for being here. This has been an amazing conversation, and we're gonna have it again in May, the first Sunday in May. I think it's May the 5th, and it's gonna be with even more ladies and gentlemen who have excuse me, experience and been a part of the music ministry. So we're so grateful to you. Before we get on, I want each of you to just share how people can connect with you, where are you located, and how can people connect with you, either with an email address or a website? Let's start with Mike.
All right, so I'm from originally Boston, Massachusetts, but I live in Virginia now. Best way to connect with me is Instagram. So the handle is Michael RO76. So that's Michael RO76.
Got it.
Yeah, so just um I love being a part of the music ministry and just writing and doing what we love for God, because at the end of the day, it's the worship is for Him, and I think it's just amazing.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
you. You guys go check out Mike's music. Go over to his Instagram page and follow him, okay? And Wendell, tell us how we can connect with you.
The best way to connect with me is via email. That's mysterious 35790 at yahoo.com. And I'll get back with you as soon as possible. And I just want to throw this out. Um, I'm working on a criminal justice degree, and I hope to be finished this year. And I plan to relocate, but as soon as I get that solidified, I'm going to be working more and more on my music and launch a single, I redone "What a Friend We Have in Jesus," and so I'm going to be uh, working on that real soon. So, but mysterious 35790 at yahoo.com. That's the best way to get in touch with me.
I want to make sure I got this right. 3579050.
Yes, mysterious 35790 at yahoo.com.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. Will, tell us how we can connect with you.
All right. There are many, many ways, but I would say the best way is um, www.facebook.com/willpower music. WILLPOWER music, just like it sounds. And yeah, that's how you can connect with me the fastest, and then I can give you all my other stuff. I'm located in Phoenix, Arizona, where it is 98 degrees right now. And one of the things that I am working on, it was kind of my pandemic thing, and I'm still trying to finish it out, is I'm doing a throwback choir record, revisiting some of the old school, Thomas Whitfield, Hawkins, some 80s, some 70s, some 80s, some 90s, putting it all together and trying to just bring a spark back to choir music and just pay homage to some of the greats that laid the foundation. So that's what I am trying to finish. It's been a while, but I'm trying to finish it. So that's what I'm doing now.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. Perfect. Okay. So thank you so much for being here with us, everyone. Thank you for everyone who is online. We truly appreciate you. This video is going to be up on YouTube by tomorrow morning. And so will you please go over to the YouTube page? It's Vivian A. Carroll, and I'm going to drop the YouTube link in there. And so you can just get you can follow her on YouTube, and you can get connected with all the other videos, all the other people who have been a part of this conversation. Okay. All right. So thank you guys so much. Thank you all for watching, and thank you for being a part of the conversation. We look forward to seeing you again on May the 5th at 7 p.m. Eastern with another conversation of I Couldn't Hear Nobody Pray, Sounds of the Black Church from Days Gone By. God bless you, and we'll see you next
Bless
time.
you. Thank you.